Hello! Today's Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. Donato's got his navy blue standard school attire. Today's school spirit, school colors day. Don't forget, tomorrow's dress like an old person in honor of the generation that is being most affected right now. Today I'm going to read Builder Brothers, Big Plans by Jonathan and Drew Scott. It's illustrated by Kim Smith. Kim Smith draws the pictures. And this is with permission of HarperCollins children's books. The first vocabulary word that I pulled out of this book is admire. To regard with wonder, pleasure, or approval. Admire. Next is tinkering. To busy oneself with a thing without useful results. Tinkering. Next one is plunked. To throw, push, put, drop, etc. heavily or suddenly. Plump, often followed by down. Plunked. And the last one is rummaged. To search thoroughly or actively through a place, receptacle, etc., especially by moving around, turning over, or looking through contents. Rummaged. This person is rummaging in a box, maybe at a yard sale. Builder Brothers, Big Plans. Here's the title page. One sweet summer afternoon, Drew and Jonathan were doing what they did best, dreaming big. Let's build a tree house, said Drew. No, a castle, said Jonathan, with a firefighter's pole and a catapult. The twins were always making big plans, but for some reason, grown-ups only ever laughed. That sounds like quite a creative castle that you boys are going to build, Uncle Joe chuckled. Said Aunt Kathy. Sounds like your imagination might be a little too wild. The twins shuffled off to their official planning table, aka the dining table. They never think that we can actually build these things, said Jonathan. Just because we're little, said Drew. But little people can do big things. The brothers traded a grin. We'll show them. But how? They rummaged and rooted through their plans. They paced and pondered. They buckled down and brainstormed. This project had to be absolutely perfect, but absolutely nothing they came up with felt quite right. I'm going to stop right there for a moment and ask you to make a prediction. What do you think the brothers will build? What's your prediction? As I like to say to my students, just hold that in your brain for a minute. Feels like the perfect idea is right in front of our noses, said Jonathan. Yep, said Drew, and that's when they noticed. Gracie and Stewie. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Asked Drew. Even before you think it, said Jonathan. Let's build a double-decker doghouse, cried the brothers. In a flash, the boys grabbed paper and pencils and started working. They sketched and scribbled, doodled and designed, colored and created. And when they were done, they stepped back to look at the result and said together, "This will be the most awesomest double-decker doghouse ever." They pooled all their savings and they plunked down their plans, their shopping list, and all their money on the counter. "We want to build the most awesomest double-decker doghouse ever," said Drew. The store worker poured over the plans. She read their list up and down. "You boys sure this is all you want?" she asked. "It seems kind of small." "Sure we're sure," said Drew. "Nobody thinks we can," said Jonathan. "But little people can do big things." The brothers were so excited that they raced each other all the way home. Drew and Jonathan hurried into their garage. For the next few hours, all you could hear was voompa, 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 bam, 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 scratch, 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 scratch. At last, the brothers stepped back to admire their work. The double-decker doghouse was awesome, all right, but it was also way too small. It even says Gracie and Stewie right here. "Oops," said Drew. "Uh-oh," said Jonathan. "I think we must have measured wrong." "What now?" said Drew. The brothers flopped down on the floor. Were the grown-ups right after all? Their money was gone. Their work was done, and the twins had nothing to show for it. How could Drew and Jonathan turn their teeny tiny doghouse into something worthy of all that work? "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" asked Jonathan. "Even before you think it," said Drew. And with a bit more tinkering, toying, and tuning up, the brothers turned their tiny doghouse into a super-duper deluxe birdhouse. That night, as they crawled into their beds, Jonathan said, "I bet those birds are dreaming their own big dreams in their new house right now." Drew asked, "But where will Gracie and Stewie sleep?" At first, Jonathan wondered, but then he realized the dogs didn't need a house. They were already right where they belonged. As they slipped off to sleep, the brothers smiled because they knew what every builder knows. Every big plan starts with a dream. And there's directions in the back, how to build your own birdhouse. You could build a birdhouse too, with just a little help from a grown-up. It's important to not do this activity without adult supervision. You need 1 empty half-gallon milk or juice cardboard carton, cleaned and dried. You need construction paper in various colors, scissors, rubber cement, markers or crayons, craft knife, long twig, and string. That looks like fun. For extra fun, you can use spray primer instead of construction paper to coat the carton. Then you'll have a blank surface to color. Spray the primer, let it dry, and then decorate it however you like. Spray it with safe, clear sealant to make it weather resistant. Just make sure you have an adult supervision throughout the process. Boy, I've made a lot of birdhouses, or at least painted them. This is a little bit about the authors, Drew and Jonathan Scott. They're hosts of multiple top-rated HGTV series, including the Emmy-nominated Property Brothers, Brother vs. Brother, and Property Brothers at Home. Their shows are watched by millions of fans in over 160 countries. They have also written the New York Times best-selling It Takes Two, Our Story and Dream Home, the Property Brothers' ultimate guide to finding and fixing your perfect house. And I believe they also live in Las Vegas, like we do. Kim Smith is the illustrator. She has illustrated several children's books, including Over the River and Through the Wood and The Great Puppy Invasion, and storybook adaptations of E.T., the Extraterrestrial, Home Alone, and The X-Files. Man, I'm going to have to check those out. When she's not busy illustrating picture books, she can be found hiking in the Canadian Rockies with her dog, Whiskey, and her husband, Eric. The end. There's the authors right there. So, a question I'm going to ask. Do you think that Drew or Jonathan came up with the idea to build a doghouse first? Who do you think? Also, do you think Drew and Jonathan eventually built a house for their dogs? And lastly, I'm going to ask you to make a text-to-self connection. Have you ever seen or built a doghouse? What about a double-decker doghouse or a birdhouse? That's it for today. Join me tomorrow, and I hope you dress up like an elderly person. Have a great day. Bye.